G'day and welcome to Aussievision. I'm Dale and we're here to talk about the jury show for semi-final 2. Now obviously the jury don't count for the semi-finals, but this is a chance to have a dress rehearsal run and to see the whole performances with a crowd essentially. So it is a really good indication of what we might see on the night and how these acts might go. So we're going to go through in running order from the semi-final and then touch on the big five who performs at the end. Right, let's start with Malta, Sara Bonici. I think this starts with a bang. This is really good. I love the choreography. I think she looks fantastic. She sounds really good. There's that flip moment, and there's a lot to love about the opening performance here for Malta. I think she's probably had some better runs. I think the flip probably wasn't as good as usual. Her vocal just had a little moment for that big note, but again, this is what a rehearsal's for, right? She'll bring it on the night. She always does. So it does look really, really good. Now, there's been some, sort of Chanel comparisons made by some, including me, because there are some similarities in choreography, but Sarah really makes it her own, and I think those comparisons won't really be there because there's a whole bunch of girl bops this year doing choreography. The aesthetic is a little similar, but she makes it very much her own here. I think the downfall of this is ultimately the song. I think the song isn't the strongest of the kind of girl bops and maybe isn't as strong as a song as the opener that Cyprus had for semi 1. So I think that could be the struggle here. And also we know that Malta always has difficulty in the public vote. Malta girl, we get it. Australia has the same issue. So you almost have to go above and beyond. And I think this has done a lot, but whether it's going to be enough is another question. But they could be very proud of this performance for Malta. It was really good. Albania, we had a different outfit now for today, and this looks a lot better. I really like the outfit. I think it works for the performance. It works for what Eurovision is. And I think what can I say about this? I think there's not a lot I like. Look, I really like this song in Festivalia Kungas in Albania. Now, I think for this revamp, it's just not working. It just gives her no moments to shine. There's this sort of dancing at the end. The LEDs are all like humans and hands, and I just don't think that looks good. Often the laying down humans on the floor LED just end up looking like bodies. And there's something I just really don't like about the entire packages, the aesthetic, the revamp, everything about it. It's just not winning me over. I mean, Bessa had charisma and looked like a diva when she did her national final. And she just looks like someone who is trying to modernize something that maybe just not her. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be connecting at all. What does work for Albania is the different diaspora and the nations voting in this semi-final, so you can never count it out, but the diaspora have to like it, and also it has to sing to them, and most Albanian songs in recent years have. This makes no connection. It's English. There's nothing in the calling of that. There's no Albanian references with it. There's nothing the color usage, etc. So I don't see why the diaspora would go for this, to be honest. It's not, people don't just vote because it's the country. They need the song as well. So no, thank you, Albania. Greece next. I love this song. I love this song so much, and Marina Sati is a star, and she does connect on the camera. There's a really nice kind of like TikTok type moment. I'm more of an Instagram guy at the start with the kind of visual of the whole thing, which is cute and it works, and the young ones might like that a little bit more than me. And there's some really nice moments that they really have the camera just following her around. It's a very tight performance, but you can see the crowd, which is nice too, and some nice color usage overall. It just lacked the impact, and it was at times quite just a bit messy because she's doing a lot of work and she has to come in, and sometimes like even the mic's not close to her, she goes to sing as she just come out of some choreography. It's a lot of work to do in this song. Now she'll be able to bring it, and she has presence, but I do think this could have been a lot more. Like like some of the LED use is questionable, particularly towards the end with some buildings and things. So I just think this could have had more impact. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's great. And I think the power of Marina and the song should get it through, but I wouldn't be absolutely falling out of my chair if they NQ'd. I would actually, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, because don't like this running order for it, and it's definitely lacking the impact the song has. I'm a massive fan of this song, top few, so this is nothing about her or Greece. I'm just not sure it's all coming together, and if it does, it's not, I don't think, on for a great result. Sorry, Greece. I wish I could say better things. Switzerland. This is a really interesting one as well. The outfit change is so much better. It works really well. The circle thing is really good, and those moments that we've seen in those recaps from the rehearsals do really pop. Not to be negative Nancy today, but I don't think it has the overall visual appeal and connection to be a Eurovision winning song. I do think there will still be enough to go on here, but essentially it's just Nemo, it's that circle thing, they are running around on it, they're spinning around on it, and there's only the moment we saw in the rehearsal clip is the moment. There's nothing else. And of amazing note, other than their amazing performance of singing. They can sing and they can rap and they can do it. But it's very dark, it doesn't really connect, and I think this still could get that great jury score, but not connect as well for the public. I think Jean's tears had more to connect with the public in his performance than I am feeling from Nemo for this. So it's just quality, and quality should do well, but I would be very shocked to see this win the Eurovision Song Contest. In terms of semi-final, sailing through, not a problem. Czechia is next. Now I can be super positive, because this is a massive glow up from their national final performance. Vocals great, the mixing they've definitely got with the backing is working, the performance looks really good, it really suits the song. Yeah, it's a bit dark at times, but I think the song is, so it actually suits okay. There's some really good moments of Aiko and the dancer sort of coming or inside the sort of screen thing, or behind the screen that comes sort of in a cage thing. Anyway, you'll see it, but I think it really works for the song. It complements the song and the artist, and it makes sense for the viewer at home to connect all those things together. So I was really impressed with it, actually. So I think from being quite outside the odds to qualify, I would put this down as a qualifier. Czechia do struggle in the public vote as well, so you do have to do more, but I think it popped. If it does qualify, it will probably be on the edge of it, but they've definitely done enough here. So well done, Czechia. Really, really good performance there. Austria next. Another one people had some vocal concerns over. They've definitely pumped the backing vocals for this one way up, but it works. I mean, this is 100% public vote. You don't need to win over the jury. And actually, Kayleen has a couple of vocal moments, and one sounded really good. The other one, okay, but not enough to put people off. And I think overall it just has impact. It's fun. It pops when you get to this. You want a bit of fun at this point. You really haven't had it, really. So I think Austria really pump, and it'll do well, and it's going through, I think, no problems, where maybe before the contest might have had some concerns about the execution. All right, next up is Denmark. I think this again, I think we are, it's sand. Literal sand. It starts with sand, it ends with sand. It's the name of the song. They've leaned into the sand, and you gotta love it for them. Vocally okay without being amazing, and overall the kind of LED use and the performance is okay without being amazing. And I think that's probably the whole thing. There's nothing really terrible about this, or bad or negative, but there's nothing super amazing about it, other than maybe people like, oh, this is what a Eurovision song should sound like. So I do think they're in a bit of trouble, Denmark. I just think it's probably just a bit too middle to really jump out and get those votes as well. So we'll see. Next up is Armenia, and this really popped. This was fun. It was colourful. I do think there's the shots, the ones that work really, really well. It can be a bit overawed at times, but when you go through all the songs we've had so far, we get to some real kind of folky authenticness that I think people will really gravitate to. So this is really good. This is sailing through. I do think they could have executed a little bit better for a really good public vote in the grand final, but overall this is a great job, and I think it really stands out amongst all the songs. So well done, Armenia, going through to the grand final, I'm sure. Next up is San Marino. This was really good. Unfortunately, we started to have some issues on the buffering of the online media center. So I did see a lot of it, but not all of it. But the crew on the ground in Malmö really loved it from Aussievision. And the visuals are fantastic. Just Magada are so good. They get visuals. It works really well. They've done a great performance of it. Vocally at the start, probably in the jury show, wasn't as super strong, but it's kind of the kind of song. It's a rock song, so you're kind of not expecting, Dami in ballads, right? So that shouldn't be kind of the issue here. I do think the song isn't the strongest, so we've always got to remember we're used to the songs and we're seeing these visuals and we get excited, but the song still might struggle for it a little bit. And also I do just think there's going to be that slight question mark from people going, why is the Spanish entry representing San Marino? Now, yes, we know everyone else is represented and they don't speak English, but people are more accepting of entry to be in English from another country. Well, it just might confuse slightly for being in Spanish, but I don't think that's a major thing. I definitely think they've given themselves a shot of qualifying with this performance. Again, the visuals are great. The whole performance works. It's very them. It works. It's authentic. Let's see how it goes. Not a shock if it gets through, but not a shock if it misses out as well. Feels very 50-50. Now, Georgia, unfortunately, online media center just dead, unfortunately, and I missed all of it, which is a shame because I loved what I saw from the 30-second rehearsal. Seemed to get a pretty positive response on the ground in Malmö as well. I do think it'll get through. I think they deserve to get through. They've thrown a lot at this. Nutsa's an amazing performer, and I think this should get through, but unfortunately I didn't get to see the full performance, so I can't really comment too much more on that one. Belgium are up next. We didn't see it at this point, but they performed at the very end. I don't know if there's a technical hitch or something. Musti, I think the shots that work really work, and it's just probably the repetitive nature of it. Some repetitive shots, repetitive lyrics, and I think that might just be a slight downfall for it as well. Vocally at the start, not as strong as usual, but that might have just been one rehearsal. You see it, artists are always up and down all week, and then they normally bring it on the live. So I think at the end was very good, but just as the beginning, it wasn't top notch. And I do feel like if he's not top notch, this will struggle. But as long as he performs as well vocally as he can, I think the quality should be enough. A lot of people are starting to go, don't think this will get through. I still think it kind of will. I think it still has its own point of difference. I think it has an audience, and I think if he performs it well, it will get through, but it definitely has a risk with it. I think that a lot of the visuals are great, but also apparently he got covered in smoke today in the earlier run through, so we'll wait and see. Next up is Estonia. This is the kind of quirky, fun, we're back in the 2000s, no staging kind of thing going on here. And this is probably the one I find hardest to predict how it's going to go, because we do have a lot of fun and kooky entries this year. And this is a bit more stripped back, in language, a bit messy because it's just a bunch of guys on stage. Yes, they do some dances at times, but you don't really know what's going on. Europe could love this, or they could just go, what is this? And not in a good way. So I've got very much question marks about if it'll get through, but in terms of performance, it does what it does. Like, there's nothing new here. We all know what this is. This is what they bring, and we're just going to have to wait and see how Europe does it. I think they could have done more for their backdrop. They could have made that a nice clean look, so that black could have just popped in those times when they are in sync, would have popped more and given it just that little sophistication to make it not too rough and next up is Israel. No technical issues, sang it incredibly well and will qualify, no problems. Following that was Norway. Now, Gotha, I think we've said this before, I think the performance works better on the smaller stage, but still it is very visually appealing. And I think they've done a really good job of it. There's some great shots in there. I think the circle thing is always a bit like making sure it's in the right moment and whatever's going on there, but more than enough to get through. I do think it probably won't reach the peak it could have done, maybe with it being a little bit tighter in the grand final, but in terms of the semi-final, this is a great performance and they're through. And finally, Netherlands, my favorite of the whole year. The opening is It's hilarious. The opening is so funny and it works so brilliantly. I absolutely love it. And essentially, without giving too much away, there's Joost on the floor LEDs. So as the starting point. So that's all I'll say, but I think it's quite funny. And then it has very much what we've seen in the rehearsal. So there's nothing new. There's no surprises here. This is what they're doing. There is the outfit of the bird. There's the weird dude. And don't mean Joost, the other guy. And then there's all the LEDs kind of going through, that kind of gaming kind of thing. The one thing with the LEDs is that there's some really funny ones and there's some good ones, but they're not really part of the backdrop. You often don't see them as part of the performance. When Joost is really zoomed in, fantastic pops, has a lot of charisma and works really well. And then when it goes into the gabba bit, the big dancing bit, it's fantastic. It has that white flashing lights and it's awesome. It goes to that red that we saw, so it's all the same. And then we have the incredible emotional moment of the whole O2's parents, which I like when I watched it and the first time in that rehearsal, 30 seconds, it made me very emotional, and I think it will make people very emotional, and it really connects. It does feel 3 parts all clumped together very quickly that some people might find as a bit whiplash, but I think overall it's certainly popping and it's working, but it could have still probably been a bit more, I think. And I think they probably could have done a few shots better. I still kind of don't get him kind of just going, and then not singing the whole thing, which is interesting. And apparently, I didn't get to see the recap and the jury part, but earlier today they're using the last bit, the kind of sad bit, as the recap bit. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think the Europapa is, you get the feels at the end, but the song is Europapa. And I just think people will see that as cynical. I don't think people will like that as the recap. I think they'll like it at the end, but I don't know. I think they're just 90% there, Netherlands. So I don't think it's going to see its full potential. I think it's still going to do very well, but this to me isn't a Eurovision winner. It still could win the public vote. It's brilliant. I love it. And I laughed and cried and was confused. So I'm not sure how that will all come together for people of Europe, but still sailing through. Anyway, not a problem. So for the big 5, France looks really good, very close camera movements. There's parts where like the camera goes down and he lifts it up, which just looks like a mistake to me at times. Vocally incredible during that part where he steps back from the microphone, but other parts I didn't see the whole performance because of buffering, but there were other parts where it wasn't as smooth as normal, but he'll nail it on the night. It'll be fine. And that is a real moment when he steps back and it works. Probably wish the mic was just turned up a little bit more for that, because it doesn't sound super loud. But overall looks really clean, looks really lovely, and it performs it really well. But we'll see how that goes. I still think it's really good. Spain had issues today. She missed the start. She was completely out of time, but caught up. So it wasn't an inner ear thing. She caught up. I don't know what happened there. But it works really well. And there's a lot of Spanish fans, and they give you that singing back part, which I think this song needs. Without it, it ends up feeling a bit flat. But the crowd involvement really makes a difference, and I think that could just help it a little bit. I'm still worried about them overall, but that could just help them a little bit more than we expect. Italy, there's a lot happening. All the concerns probably of the pattern are valid. I do think it does kind of clash slightly at times. She's amazing. She looks like a pop star, and when we have her really focused on, and we have those dancers walking back, and when she's doing the a cappella bit, just brilliant, so good. And this will get points on both sides. It's just about how much. And I do think the pattern is just a little bit overdone a little bit. It could have just been a little bit more poppy for her. She could have just popped out a bit. But overall, really, really good. And it will do well. How well will be the question. So anyway, that's a wrap of everything from the jury show I saw this morning. Yeah, I think overall there's a few definitely rows there. There's a few that didn't do as well, but we definitely saw from jury show the other night to the live, massive improvement for everybody, most people. So, even if your favorite didn't have the greatest run tonight, they'll bring it together for the live. I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll catch you later.